Hey guys, so I just finished watching, you know, Imperasi, in Imperasi. She talks about Queen of Sheba. Queen of Sheba, she was one of Solomon' wife. Yes, she was a little off, but so I'm gonna correct, and I'm gonna include her video in the comment section. You guys can watch. She was one of Solomon's wife, and she possessed a lot of magical power. Okay, and Solomon, at the time, he ruled a lot of places in the earth. Like he has a big kingdom, and she have a big kingdom as well, because she's known to control matter, to control energy, to control demons, spirits, jinn, because part of her DNA is she's part jinn as well. Because what she's saying is accurate, like because how they describe her, but she did not look like where she's saying that she had legs of a donkey. She did not have legs of a donkey. She looked like a person. She looked like a person, like everybody else. But it isn't within her DNA. She can shape shift to anything and stuff. So, and she also had jinn under her command and spirits and stuff. So she married Solomon, and they have a child together, and that child grew up to be the king of Ethiopia, and at the time, and so grandson, his grandson, he had a one grandson, and the grandson, when there was a war between United Kingdom and Ethiopia at the time, and Ethiopia lost the war, and the 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 British monarchy, they've taken the child and his mother. They taken them captive. They took them captive. They taken them back to England, and mysteriously, on the way before they arrived to England, the mother died. They said she got ill, and she she was ill, whatever, and she died. And that's not true. She was killed on the way. Anyhow, they said mysteriously she contracted something and she died. Okay? Anyhow, she was killed, and the child, the prince, was taken to United Kingdom, and he lived in one of their palaces, like I think Beckham Palace. Anyhow, he lived there, and they said they treated him like a prince, like one of their own. When he was 18 years old, he uh, died as well. They said he was depressed, and he just died, mysteriously died. And he was killed, right? But anyhow, the Ethiopian government been asking for his body to be shipped to be sent back to Ethiopia, but the monarch in United Kingdom, they said they do not want to dig him up to disturb other people who are buried in the same cemetery. Okay, they didn't want to give him back, because part of his DNA, they want part of his DNA, right? That's exactly what happened to my mom, right? But anyhow, they refuse. Up to the day, the Ethiopian government is still pressuring them to send back his body to Ethiopia, and they're refusing, which is it raises question why you're refusing and to send a body of a prince who was Ethiopian. He's not part of the monarch, so they have no right to keep his body in United Kingdom. And how are you gonna disturb? Okay, let's say I believe that they don't want to dig him up because they don't want to disturb other people around him. Have you seen anybody who's royal buried in a cemetery in a mass burial? No. They bury him in his own little plot, little land where they bury him, and they put a tombstone. So he's not buried, among a lot of people. They can clearly dig him up and take him, but they don't want to. I'll tell you why. Because they don't want the Ethiopian government to investigate how he was killed. Because he was killed, clearly. He was fine when he was in Ethiopia, when he's 18 years old. 18 is very young. So to mysteriously die. Make sense? Because it will show how he was killed. He either has been struck or he was killed somehow. And they keeping him remaining in the United Kingdom in one of their, I think it's one of the cemetery that they bury the royal family or whatever. So he's buried there. Okay? So I do not believe the story. Queen of Sheba, yes, she was very powerful, and she's similar. She have magical power similar to Solomon. Okay, and she married Solomon on her own free will. Nobody pressured her into marrying him, but she liked him, right? And they showed you in that movie. I'm trying to remember the name of the movie. It's about the theme of it is like Genie in a Bottle one, where Solomon showed up and he really impressed her. He just showed you in a movie. He did impress her. So what she's saying, Solomon impressed her, is they show it in a movie. Yes, he did impress her. That's why she married him. She liked him, and she giving him riddle in that movie. She gave him riddle. Only jinn would know. To test his power, if he's powerful. She says, I give you riddle. If you answer the riddle, I would marry you. Okay? And he answered because he commanded also the jinn and the spirits. So he knew the answer because the spirit and the jinn and whatnot told him the answer, right? And when he answered, I think she asked him 3 questions, and he answered all 3. Okay? And then she says, if you answer them, I'll marry you. If you don't, then no. And he answered the questions. Okay? So anyhow, to get back to why his body is, this crown prince, in Ethiopian crown prince is buried in the United Kingdom, and they don't want to return his remaining to Ethiopia. Because this is what I'm telling you. This is exactly what happened. Because he was killed. Okay? And that's why they don't want to dig him up. The United Kingdom, the reason they gave to Ethiopia is we don't want to disturb other people who are buried next to him, right? Yeah. So it's like about, you go into a war with them, and then you lose the war, and then they do stuff to you, and they take stuff from you and stuff. It's an old game. Okay, and the other thing I want to talk about is, you know, the queen. She mentioned the queen, you know. Anyhow, the queen. I remember when I first got targeted, the queen called me a name. She named me. I'm going to tell you what the name is, and I'm going to tell you what it means. She named me Nigel. She says Nigel to me, okay? And it's not like something I'm making up, and I swear to God, and I'm not lying. She called me Nigel, and they know this. The people who are targeting me, they know the queen called me Nigel, okay? Nigel is not a very nice name to call. I'll tell you why. I looked up what Nigel means because I heard of the name Nigel. I grew up in Canada, so I know what's Nigel. You know, Nigel is Latin for the word nigger. Look it up. If I'm lying, come and tell me. Buddha, you're lying. I looked up what Nigel means, and it showed, according to Google, it's in Latin. It stemmed from a Latin name, and it means nigger. Okay? So, Markle, what her name is, the one who's married to, what his name? Not William, the other one. I can't remember his name. But anyhow, when she said there are racists because they're of the child being a different color or because of her ancestry, she half black. I believe that story because I was called a nigger. So, that's what happened. And it's true. This is a true story. What I told you is true. So, Marco, I believe her 100%. Okay? So, that's all I want to talk about the Queen of Sheba and who she was. Okay? And the crown prince being buried in United Kingdom and they're refusing to return his remains to Ethiopia. All right? True story. You can check what I'm telling you online. Everything I just told you. You're going to find out what I'm told you is on point.